right, moving on now, and in the labor sector, tensions are rising. The Nigeria Labour Congress is warning against any electricity tariff hike following its NEC meeting in Yola, Adamawa State. Now, the union led by Joe Ajero strongly rejected the government's plan to migrate consumers from Band A to Band or Band B to Band A, calling it a hidden strategy to raise prices. The NLC has vowed mass resistance if tariffs go up. So, what does this mean for you? We'll break this all down right now. Joining me to discuss these pressing issues is international finance and economic analyst Mukhtar Mohammed. Mukhtar, good morning to you. Been a minute. How are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, George? Justin, it's been a while. It's good
Yes,
to
it
be on your
has been.
program
It has
today.
been. Yeah. So there's a whole lot happening economically, a whole lot happening in the country. But then let us start from GDP growth, from what the president said that we are getting better. But then the government says the country is in 3.8% and GDP growth is proof that reforms are actually working. But many Nigerians aren't feeling the impact. Is this just an economic illusion, Mukhtar? We've been on this for several times.
Justin, it depends on where you are.
I'm in
For the
Lagos.
online Nigerians, it might be an illusion.
Okay.
For the rich Nigeria, it could be true. Uh, what I mean is that the policy of this current administration has been from up to down, instead from bottom to up. So why I'm saying that is that when you look at some of their reforms, it has favored those that are highly liquid. You look at the reform that have driven the stock market to where it is. You look at the reform that have driven exchange rates to where it is today. You realize that it's mostly been favored by the rich. Even if you look at the reform of removal of subsidy, you realize that the cost of transportation and other items have not gone down. But for the rich that has his own car, the cost of fueling a car has gone down because of the cost of petroleum product has also gone down. So that's why I say it depends on where you are. So if you look at it as a poor man, your life has not improved. As a rich man, I think if you had investment in the stock exchange, your investment has grown. If you have investment in fixed income space, your yield has grown. If you have dollar, when dollar was about 360, your dollar has now your dollar to your naira has also improved. So that's why I say it depends on
Where you are.
where you are. So again, when you look at GDP growth, I keep saying is not a true measure of measuring the economy, especially when you look at the current Nigerian GDP growth that is largely driven by rebasing of the economy. A rebasing of the economy becomes a magic when it does not drive foreign investors into your economy and also does not improve the life of the ordinary citizen of your country. Rebasing itself is a way to discover new areas that have contributed to growth in your economy. And this is supposed to be done every five years because the economy is evolving. The economy is like the life of a man. They think it should be evolving, it should be innovative. So when you bring out those new sector of growth, it creates a buzz in those sectors that you attract investors, and then there's job opportunity, and then that sector expands. And maybe through the expansion of that sector, you get other new sectors from that sectors. So that is definitely the whole idea of rebasing. Then with that expansion in that sector, that means there will be job, and so it will be creating employment and bringing in new people into the wealth zone. That is all it is. But once rebasing is just based on because you now have that new sector is there. So that's all it is. Then life has improved. It's not true because, like I pointed out to you already, if you look at the ordinary Nigerian, their lives have not really improved. And what we know about this current rebasing is more political rebasing than even economic rebasing. Because this is the first time in the history of this country where we are using rebasing to drive down inflation and we are celebrating it in the other term. But in the real term, even when you look at the MBS reports,
Mm.
inflation is still very high.
Okay, before we leave GDP and the inflation to talk about the ATM and tariffs and all of that, but let's just quote the federal government, it is saying that it is highlighting forex reforms, is also highlighting higher minimum wage and 21.6 million naira in revenue as signs of progress. Once again, are these numbers translating to Nigerians in terms of living condition?
When you talk about minimum wage, you ask yourself, what has changed? At the time they were receiving 30,000 as minimum wage, what was the exchange rate? And now that they are receiving, is it 70,000? When they were receiving 30,000, 35,000, what was the minimum wage? And now that they are in receiving 70,000, what's the exchange rate? So you realize that their life has not gotten any better. If not, it has gone worse because their earning capability has been reduced. Because most of what we consume, we import. So, and that is largely driven by exchange rate. Exchange rate has moved at when they were earning 30,000. Exchange rate have moved from 340 naira with 360 naira to 1,600 or 1,700. But now, let's celebrate them. They say it's now 1,500. And so, for me, it does not add anything. So they shouldn't be using that as a EST because just like you said in your report, I'm sure when we get back to that, you have what labor is saying. That is one. Secondly, again, when you look at the exchange and they are celebrating it, I have asked them, this is a government that made exchange rate at a height of 750. During the administration, the exchange rate moved to 917. They themselves decided to move it to 1,400, and it got to 1,900, and they are bringing it back to 1,500. They've not even brought it back to where it used to be, and they are celebrating. And this is coming at a high cost. You can look at our foreign reserve. They say they want to float the naira, they will not intervene. That's what other CBN management have been, but now they are intervening to even put it at the current price. So what has really changed? So we must be mindful when they begin to talk about the reform in the FX market. Yes, we are seeing reforms in the FX market that is trying to bring integrity, transparency, but that has not reduced and that has not brought back price stability, and that also has not brought back liquidity. Integrity, transparency is a stick. It's just a method. What will drive liquidity into your market? Earn more FX. How has that been able to make us earn more FX? I'm not seeing that yet. So oil output, according to OPEC data, even according to Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, is about 1.4. And that was something that we're saying will be doing 2.03 million barrels per day. So there's always a shortfall. So when you look at revenue at which cost, it has come at a cost. Because what we have seen is that revenue has come at a cost because a lot of businesses are now beginning to pay more, whether in terms of levies. So I don't see how that revenue it has impacted negatively on some business. Let me give you an example. Importation businesses, exchange is about 1,500. So when they bring in goods in terms of volume or turnover, it's lower. Then in terms of value, it seems to be higher because of the exchange rate. So how has that helped grow businesses? So I'm different about these three major areas that they are talking about.
Issues of the day, ATM withdrawal fees. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria's new charges will mostly affect those withdrawing small amounts frequently. Do you think this move is justified, Mukhtar?
I think it's justified, and Justin, sometimes we need to look at it. It's justifiable because, like I said, cost of living has gone up. So cost of maintenance of these ATMs have gone up. The banks are in the business to make money. So definitely they can't be maintaining at a loss. So I think what we have seen over the years that the CBN have tried to play politics with this issue by mandating banks to make sure they put their ATM, and those cash were not there, and they said they will sanction it, and nobody was sanctioned because they really know the challenges. I think they have been bold enough to realize that they need to do something with that challenges, and that the whole idea is that you need to have cash in those ATM machines. That is when it's profitable, not because you have an ATM machine and there's no cash. So for me, if they say maintenance cost is high to improve liquidity, to improve cash, to make cash available, then those machines, the cost of transactions, especially outside the comfort of the bank, need to go up, and outside the bank bank that you're using, then I think I'm in support of it as long as it will result in having cash in the ATM machines. My problem would be where we have to pay this and cash is not available. That's where I will have an issue with it. But for me, I think it's not something that um, we should always look at the long term. Yes, it's going to be challenging, especially for small business, especially for those that withdraw little. But again, I can assure you that it will create competition in that space. So we might see those rates drop down. Remember, we still have the POS terminal, we still have the ATM machine, then we still have the mobile app bank. So all this now will be fighting to get more customers on their space, and then they may be bringing down rates. So for me, I think what I would say is that let this policy be able to drive cash into the ATM machine so that Nigerians will go back to the normal way whereby you go to an ATM machine, you easily withdraw cash and do your transaction. Because most of our SME, smaller business, are cash driven and they are the life wire of the Nigerian economy. So by not having cash, you are killing one of the most vibrant sectors of the Nigerian economy.
All right, well said. Let's move on to other issues now. The electricity tariff debate. The Nigeria Labour Congress is actually gearing up for a fight over possible tariff hikes. But in your view, is there a balance between improving power supply and keeping costs fair for consumers?
First of all, let me address the Nigerian Labour Congress. You know, they have become breaking record with when they come in, when there's a policy, they come in and say, look, we are going to fight, we are going to fight. Remember, even when they moved customers to ban A from ban B, they were the one that protested. They went to negotiation with the government. Government did not even respond to that. You remember that when they were also looking for increment in minimum wage, they suggested an amount. At the end of the day, the government won. So I'm not so excited about the Nigerian Labour Congress being the pillars of moving. Remember again the telecom hike, the peak, and all this process, all this tariff still went through. All what the government wanted to do went through. So I think they should be innovative enough to know that this is a private sector driven economy, capitalist economy, and when you do that, changes are necessary sometimes when the cost is high. Now, coming to the power sector, I totally agree with you that services have not even really improved, especially if you're in Band B. Maybe if you're in Band A, depending on the location you are, maybe services have improved. But in Band B, services have not really improved for them to also be able to be excited that you are going to increase that tariff. Remember that of recent, they have moved people from Band A to Band B because of poor electricity supply. And they have a term that they have a certain levy you should acquire before they are moving you are in band A or band B. And so the regulators have not done that. And so you look, the challenge we have as a country is that when it comes to regulators, when it comes to efficiency of service, we tend to look at cost first. We increase the cost before we say we want to improve services. I can give you an example. Look at the recent telecom hike. No matter how soon it is, we have not seen an improvement in service. Rather, we have seen services going worse. True. So that has not justified the recent hike. Data has finished easily on time now to every Nigeria, and drop calls are all over the places. So your increase in tariff have not result in an improvement in service. Those in band A, like I said, depending on the location, some of them are also now paying more higher costs in terms of managing their electricity cost because they will have to use their generator because the light is not available and they will pay the price of band A. And if you look at the report that came out last week, most industrial area, most companies, manufacturing, whatever, they have moved out of the power grid. They are now providing independent power for themselves because they realize that it could be cheaper than what they are getting from the power company. So government in itself, they should not always just be thinking of, what we accrue. They need the money to develop infrastructure. So increase the fee until when those money come, they will now use it to develop the infrastructure. There's a saying that a good meal, you know it by when they are cooking it, the smell of it even before it's ready to be eaten. So as it stands now, when you look at what they are bringing to the table, what they are trying to do, it does not look like people that are really serious in terms of bringing service delivery and then incommensurate to the fee that you are paying.
Okay, as we round off now, Mukhtar, what is next, really, looking at 2025? Should Nigerians brace for more economic shocks, or is there a real chance for stability?
I think there's a real chance for stability. Let's be sincere. There's this type of stability, and that stability will be largely driven by FX stability, which we are beginning to see. Even if it's at 1,500, it's still, as long as it's stable. I don't think a lot of investors or Nigerians will mind, especially if you're a business owner. What you need is stability to be able to plan. So I think there is light. It seems to be light at the end of the tunnel. We are beginning to see the price war in deregulation. We are now seeing Dangote is now crashing the market with his price, and even the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) is not even been able to sustain businesses these days. Before, they used to be the tools of everybody, but now everybody seems to be moving towards MRS and other affiliates. So that shows you that reforms are working. They are giving Nigerians options. So that's all about reform. Reform is to give you options to be able to reduce your expenditure and improve your lifestyle. So I think if you look at that, two major policies that they have taken that have brought us to our knee was the removal of fuel subsidy and the floating of the naira. And now you are beginning to see they are beginning to address those places, bringing stability in terms of supply to the oil sector, and through right pricing, and we are now seeing that price war and floating of the naira now, and we are seeing liquidity. We are seeing the naira is moving. So if these two processes are sustained, I think there is light at the end of the tunnel.
All right, thank you so much. Clearly, there's a whole lot to unpack here. Thank you so much, Mukhtar, for your insight on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
We do appreciate it, but we'll continue tracking these stories and their impact on businesses and daily lives for Nigerians. Just keep it locked on Plus TV Africa. My name is Justin Akadonye. Many thanks for being there.